Say what?
Home. The green place.
But if you came from the west, you passed it.
The crows. That creepy place with all the crows.
The soil.
We had to get out.
We had no water,
The
and
water was filth.
it was poisoned. It was sour.
And then the crows came.
We couldn't grow anything.
Where are the others?
What others?
The many mothers.
We're the only ones left.
No, just like it's before we got a ridiculous president, and so, I mean, I shouldn't say that either because we've had ridiculous presidents, but it's before we got Trump in the office, and so it was a different time period across the period. Like
It didn't, and it's weird when you say the time, and I can obviously take myself back to the period, but I felt like Mad Max, Fury Road was like somewhere. It felt like it was sooner, like it hadn't been that long since in between movies, and maybe obviously I think the pandemic is like shrunk in time, so to speak, or flattened a little bit more than it has. Because again, it was before his election, and so. But again, I don't know if it was necessarily the idea of like she being the lead actress that's going to be like the reason why it does bad, though.
I mean,
I
just think there was no appetite for that. Unfortunately, there was no appetite for that movie
right now.
Yeah, I think the appetite again. We were. What was 2015? Was that? That was before Infinity War, right?
So
okay, so to
it was
speak
before.
to it,
It was
Go
before
for it.
Infinity War. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say to speak that there's no appetite. That also speaks to the idea that you're hungry for something in that vein, whereas we have other avenues to get sustenance, and so it's like I don't need to go to the movie theater to get that sustenance. I can just rewatch Fury Road if I want more Furiosa, but also there's other stories that are there and out there that I can fall into, and that's where like one of the other points of the theater's like, okay, so I've got to go to a theater, potentially deal with other a-holes in the theater, and maybe the sound's bad, or I can just wait a month and it's on DVD and I watch it at home in Blu-ray or stream it. Like the theaters taking a hit it's so multifaceted that like just being the fact that people didn't go see Furiosa it's not like, oh, this is the signal for the downfall. It's like this is just one of many like drops in the bucket that like you can't have Barbie and Barbenheimer all the
Oppenheimer?
time. So
yeah.
I mean, you could have Gariosa. Is that what it was? Furyfield. Garfield
I like
and Furiosa.
I like Gariosa actually. I'm gonna go Gariosa.
Gariosa. Oh yeah, and that's the other movie from this week that this colossal.
Did you wake up for that, Ken?
Oh my god. I purposely watched that in my head.
How many times did you watch it? Be honest.
Be honest.
We
saw it 3 times. So
okay.
We saw
only 3. Late weekend
times.
Start.
I forgot that the movie was coming out.
Watch them all on Sunday.
I mean, here's the ridiculous part. I'll watch it at some point when it comes to streaming because it's already included in my package. Because I'm going to be that.
You say that, but you could have watched Morbius over the last 6 years now, and you haven't.
Wait, didn't Morbius come out a year and a half ago?
Here's the thing.
There goes the pandemic again. It's squashing time.
It's
not
like
right.
It's not like Ant-Man where I say at one point that I refuse to watch it. Even if you held up my eyeballs, they'd say, no, I'll never watch it as a point of pride. It's a different point where I'm just like, maybe I'll watch it when it's free, in quotations.
But it's been free and you still won't watch it.
But I didn't stand on a soapbox and shout it down. Sorry, Pat.
No, I'm interrupting. My apologies. What is the last movie you were genuinely excited to see in theaters?
Depends on the level of excitement.
Fast
but
10, to be honest with you. That's my own personal idiosyncrasies. What do you say? Idiosyncrasies?
Idiosyncrasies?
Yeah.
Some words I can say.
Because, I mean, and when I'm saying excitement, I don't mean like tepid. I mean like I'm excited like it's
Fast 10.
At a time when you were watching movies a lot, where you were like, oh, I'm jazzed for this release.
I was, let's say, what the
Into
last
the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, that was.
I was very excited to see that in theater.
But here's the thing: is I was like, my level of excitement. I don't have a high level of excitement for films anymore because, like, they've already.
That doesn't answer Pat's question though. His question is, when was the last time?
So the last time I was eager to see a movie was Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, which was earlier this year. But I'm a big Ghostbusters fan. Yeah. So that's the last one I was like. Also, it depends on your level of excitement. Like, oh yeah, I'm eager to see it. I saw it within the opening week, so there's that. Which is, I mean, that's part of the indicator of us engaging with these films to help their box offices. Seeing it within opening week, so that's the level of excitement I gave it. Was Endgame a much more excitement? Absolutely. That was a community event that we all like. Oh no, we're seeing that opening night. We've got friends who are going to be at the same theater. We might not have bought tickets together because we can't fit them all together, but we will all walk out of the theater and talk about it afterwards. And there's the level of excitement. But that's pre-COVID. Like I don't think post-COVID. I mean, actually, I guess there was some, like, we saw Shang-Chi together with a small group of friends. But again, it's smaller groups of friends because that's just what COVID did and how we are now.
Hold on. So, now, I don't know if it's that what COVID did or if that's what the movie required.
Well, time out. We're also older now. Yeah. It is a natural thing that we will go to the movies less. Just kind of how it works, it seems like.
Right, but I think, again, say we had started this podcast at the beginning of the Fast franchise. I think, and we were, a relatively large group when we did. And we all, are within traveling distance in California somewhere to go see Fast 10. I think it would have warranted a big group, kind of like Endgame. Endgame was a journey for anybody who had been following a lot of these movies, a lot of these heroes. So it warranted, like, hey, even if you didn't watch Thor: The Dark World, but you were a fan of Iron Man 3 and say, Captain Marvel and some other one, you would still go see Endgame. And so it didn't matter where you were at on that journey, so to speak. There were so many movies that by the time Endgame came around, you had a large group of people that were like, hey, I don't identify with all 13 movies that you do, but there are at least 6 that I like. And those people are going to be in this movie. So I'll come watch it with you. Shang-Chi doesn't really require that, because unless you have, all, whoever your big group is, all fans of that specific person, some of those people are going to drop off like they did during the journey to the first, set of Avenger, bookends. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think Shang-Chi's comparable to be like, hey, that same big group is going to come watch that movie now. It's like, hey, no, I'm dropping off. Call me again when they have another big event, or I've at least watched 4 or 5 movies that have warranted that.
Part of this as well is it does feel like they don't quite know how to market these movies anymore. I do not think they did a good job marketing Furiosa. I don't think they did a good job marketing Fall Guy.
You mean Garfield? They didn't market that thing at all.
I didn't even know that existed. What's a Garfield? What are you even talking? Like the former president?
Yes.
It's a movie about him.
I died in 40 days.
Now that's a movie I'd watch.
God, that would be such a great twist.
Lin-Manuel, whatever his name is, to write a musical about it.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about Moana 2, which doesn't have him in it, but at least that's got Lin-Manuel or associated. But yeah,
that's The Rock would like that if we did that. He would be very excited.
The Rock would like that. He needs more money.
Right. I'm done promoting for The Rock.
Yeah, I feel weird now. But that's another point on the thread is marketing isn't what it once was, but it also ties into us being older now and the way we are marketed to. When we were more of a monoculture, when we were watching TV live, we saw commercials. When we drove places, we listened to radio and listened to commercials. But now, depending on how you imbibe that media, if you're on, like, I watch a fair amount of YouTube. I watch a good amount of YouTube. We have YouTube Premium because my wife pays for it. So it's like, okay, I'm not watching those ads. I'm listening to podcasts, but I'm sometimes listening to Patreon podcasts, so I don't have to hear the paid ads. So I'm not getting the ads that I normally would. When we watch something on, say, like Hulu, because we don't pay for the no ads version because we cheap to a certain degree, we get those ads, but I don't get marketed to outside of very specific areas anymore. Whereas when we were kids, like, I can still, like, there's still a spot in my head that goes, after these messages, we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Like, there is a, like, that is locked into so many kids' minds because we watched it ad nauseum. So it's like, as part of those commercial breaks in that marketing, we're not seeing that anymore. Like, we're not seeing those same, like, oh, this is Garfield. And like kids who hypothetically watch, Nickelodeon or Disney Channel, they're getting marketed to at a different rate than we are. And that's even if kids watch live television in quotations. Like, we're in such a different time period now than we were even 10 years ago as far as our consumption of media, let alone different age ranges. Kareem, you're probably one of the best ones who could kind of give us an indicator of that. Do your kids watch broadcast television, or how does that?
Not at all.
Yeah. So how does marketing?
But as someone who's in marketing, I can tell you that I don't think marketing has been done poorly or fallen off. I think the problem, for the most part, is that we have too many channels to access content, and that doesn't necessarily mean marketed content. To your point of listening to podcasts, like, I'm sure when we were just talking earlier about the Venom trailer, and we're talking about things that are happening in the movie, you may never see another ad for Venom, or you may never watch the trailer, but that doesn't mean that you won't somehow come across more information about that movie before you go see the movie via headlines and articles, social media, people on podcasts that are talking about what could be in the movie. Like, you're going to get inundated with so much stuff by the time you go see the movie. You're going to be like, you know what? The surprise, or what could have been a surprise in this movie, I've already experienced some of that. Or I've listened to it ad nauseum before I even got to the movie. So now my level of enjoyment isn't the same as when these 5 commercials kept airing at these specific times with that same jingle. I can expect to see that, and it could be measured. Like, the studios knew when to release their 2 and 3rd trailers over the span of 3 months. The length of time between when they announce a movie and when you see it is almost infinite how much content you're going to get about it. And again, it's not necessarily the studio's commercial specifically you're going to see. You're just going to get so much stuff from it. And I think that's also weighing in on whether or not you want to go see it at that point. Because again, if you were to see 3 trailers in 3 months, and the trailers were, they progressively showed you more, it's only been a 3-month span, you're like, you know what? I haven't seen enough of it yet. I don't know what, I've seen a little bit of something. I'm so intrigued. But if they tell you, hey, this movie's supposed to come out in this December, so you have from today till December for people to talk about it, for people to write about it, for people to make their own fan fictions of it. Like, you just have all this stuff coming in every day until December. You're gonna be like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to see it the day it comes out. Maybe I can wait on it because I've gotten so much content from whatever this thing is supposed to be that I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can agree to that too, because I know that I've, like, aside from I don't think I saw any trailers for Furiosa, but I did see, like, TikTok reels of Chris Hemsworth and Anna Taylor-Joy, like, doing little interviews and doing promotion work for it more than I saw a trailer. So that is a fair kind of, like, okay, I saw that. But on that note too, now I'm not going to go see Craven. So you just talked me out of it. I'm not going to.
Damn it!
I have no. That
Sony
podcast is now
residuals
off the
in my
books.
hands.
Hold on.
God.
There's plenty of time to get it back. There's plenty of time.
That's fair.
Coming out in 2026.
Right. Just come back into December, right, Pat?
Coming out like 2026-ish. We got time. We got time.
I think they wrote on the schedule right before Blade. They don't put a date. They just say right before Blade, which means never.
Oh, God.
Or all of the DC films. Just all of them.
I was gonna say too, like, in the discussion too, of, like, saying, like, what will I've seen, and there is far more with Venom, and also for Blade. One of the channels I follow, New Rockstars, they're like, is this ever going to come out? I'm like, that's a fair point. I have no idea, but I'm also the person of like, well, when it does, I'll come and see it because I like Marvel, so I'll give them the chance. They've earned enough goodwill with me that I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt at times, and which is why I still saw now I'm trying to remember what the last Marvel movie was, and if I saw it in theaters, which I probably did. I mean, I gave enough time to go see Ghostbusters.
Yeah, the Marvels.
Oh yeah, we saw that for sure. That was a lot of fun. I highly recommend.
That was good. I enjoyed that one. And before that though was Ant-Man, wasn't it?
Was that Ant-Man 3 Quantumania? Yeah, I saw that in the theater and I regretted it.
No, Guardians.
No,
before Marvels. I think Guardians came
before. But wasn't it? Didn't it go Ant-Man, Guardians, Marvels?
Was there Love and Thunder somewhere in there too, though?
Love and Thunder was like before all of that too.
Okay, because that had the Guardians in it too, so that's why my bleeds together.
I could be way off on this as well.
But to the point though, I mean, I think
it had to come out because of the way Guardians is. I think it had to come out after Love and Thunder.
Oh right, yeah, because he did, yeah, because otherwise Thor would be on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, it's they've.
All that was a blur. Marvel didn't help the box office really either with their last 5 years of movies.
Yeah, there's been so many other like monkey wrenches in the plans, so it's like that's why I'm still good. That's why I still want to go see the Marvels, because I'm like, I'll still give them the benefit of the doubt even after seeing Quantumania, which has its flaws and has some fun moments too still, but overall, like
flaws overall.
I still think Paul Rudd does some fun stuff there. Like, he's still enjoyable.
I mean, he does his Paul Rudd thing, but we're 3 movies in.
Yeah, not enough Luis. That's fair, but that's, it is what it is.
Marvel's really what has hurt Marvel for me. It's the television shows. It's just too much. I can't keep up, frankly. It's so overwhelming now.
I don't even actually. I'm not even bothered by the TV shows, because the TV shows to me are separate and different. And if keeping up with them, I do acknowledge your point of keeping up with them is just too much. Like they were putting out stuff in 4 or 5 episode lengths, and they were some of it connected, some of it didn't, some of it were different stuff. Like I get like there was just too much at once, and I think obviously since COVID has kind of been eased back, they've obviously realized the error of their ways that they can't really compete necessarily 1-for-1 with Netflix, because they'd already just had a lead. I think they thought they can come in, have all these properties, have an infinite audience because everyone was going to be locked in, and they just slammed the gas, and now they're backtracking on it. I think the movies have hurt them more, and probably hurt the TV shows in turn, because none of it feels organized. Feels like this is the order in which you need to watch the shows. Because I think people had that expectation, like, hey, we're going to go see WandaVision because it's playing off of Endgame, and these characters that show up in it will show up in other stuff that we need. And so for a while, that was the third people were like latching onto. Then it became so spread out. You're like, I don't know what to watch and when to watch it. And then they tell me to go watch these movies, and sometimes the people show up in it, and sometimes they make reference to it, but sometimes they don't. And you know what? Until you guys figure out your shit, I'm not gonna watch any of it.
I don't think, and we've devolved back to our Marvel conversation, but it's
still part of the box office. Well, I'm saying because I think.
But sorry, go ahead.
Well, because I mean, there are movies they're putting out, like you said, like the Marvels. Financially didn't do well, but it's critically people love that movie. Like once it hit Disney Plus, people were like, dude, I can't get enough of this. This was such a good movie. It should have gotten better recognition in theaters. But I think to your point of the wokeness thing, whatever, it's different time. But also the fact that people just didn't know where to peg this movie in the echelon of following that extended universe. People were just like, you know what, I'm out. Marvel, figure yourself out and then come back to me when you can tell me you need to watch this one because it will do this and this and this.
Marvels came out at basically what was the worst possible time, because there is that misogynist hatred of Brie Larson. You have a Muslim American character as one of the other leads. You're dealing with all of the Marvel problems that you've just laid out.
You also have a black lead as well. This is
yes.
Man, so they really stepped in this one.
everything that anybody could latch on, combined with nobody really knows nobody knew what the movie was actually about. Like, they did a poor job marketing that because there was no like, well, what is the movie? What is it? What is happening? It didn't. None of the marketing really latched or really like took hold. So that in of itself. But then here is the positive side of streaming on movies. It found second life on the streaming platform, which now means there can still be a path forward for those characters to appear in future films.
Now, here's a question.
Yeah.
No, go finish.
Good. Oh, it turned out that once people gave it a fair shake on its own merits, it was an enjoyable experience.
Now, here's the question, or the catch-22, so to speak. Is the fact that the window of time between movies shrinking for that specific opportunity hurting the fact that, movies don't get... Everything has to be that opening weekend, otherwise it's death. Because I think, to our point when we were, younger, or just movies back in a certain period of time, you would have release windows of like, hey, here's the month that it debuted, and this is how well it did before you even start talking about overseas gross and box office. It was like, hey, this thing was going to be in the theaters in the US for at least a month or two. And then you can start saying like, hey, all right, how did it do in its time frame, which is like, 3 to 4 months. And then it went overseas and made even more money. And then it disappeared for a while and it showed back up on DVD 3 months later. And then from DVD, you got, now we're talking almost about a year and a half where they start hinting like, hey, we're going to start showing an edited version on TV so we can make a third dip in this whole thing. Now it's like, if we don't make it Thursday to Sunday, that thing was a write-off.
But you
don't get like a month or whatever.
No, I think you're 100% correct. Like the expectation, so much of it is now, which is so funny because they're releasing less films, so they should have longer legs. But I think this ties, Ken, to your point that the other back half of that is that, well, if it hasn't done well in the first 3 weeks, we are now pivoting immediately to streaming. We are getting this we're not going to pay to have this in the box office anymore. We're going to get it out of there. We're going to move it to our streaming platform because frankly, we're trying to launch a streaming platform still and we need content. So if it just even remotely doesn't do as well as they think it should have, it is just all right, we're not paying for this anymore. Get it out of there, put it on the streaming service.
Yeah, well, and then part of that too is that executive side of it of like, okay, well, we need to, like, if it's not a box office smash, then we don't care about it anymore. But on that side too, like what you're saying is like, okay, well, the streaming team wants to get this movie as fast as possible, since we're part of this giant conglomerate. If the theatrical team doesn't make their money, we get it faster. So let's go. Like they'll just take it as fast as they can because they need to get something on the streaming platform. So it's like it is just trying to trying to please too many masters and being like, okay, well, we want it to be a box office smash right away, but then we also want to be able to sell DVDs. Actually, not even sell DVDs anymore. That's going away, and it's so weird because it's like there's people who still champion physical media for good reason, and is that even in the equation? Like Kevin Smith talks about how the majority of his career was predicated, or like at least the more of his career was predicated on DVD sales and cassette sales. Like that's what he made his money on. Like even if he wasn't going to do well in theaters, he knew he'd always find his audience with home video. And that's how he became a content creator and built his, was going to say empire, but fiefdom, whatever you want to call it. But he's a successful creator in a lot of ways. And he was always predicated on like, well, I know I have my small audience, but studios don't think in that aspect anymore. They maybe they never did, or they never will, because they only care about big butts because they're greed machines. But there's a space for that out there.
The question is, has Kevin Smith's career been offloaded to streaming then, where studios don't have to worry about that now? Because again, studios for the most part, we'll say, because there's live television and then there's some scripted stuff on network television, but for the most part, movies created most of the content, at least for cable, sometimes cable, for them, because you'd have a movie that was made, and then the network would buy or lease the property for it to then show it on USA ad nauseum, and that's where you're saying Kevin Smith would be like, hey, you know what? I found my audience. a smaller audience after my movie hit the theaters, and maybe wasn't necessarily a commercial success, but I had a cult following because it showed up on TNT over and over, and people were like, hey, you know what, I like this guy's stuff because it's always there. Now studios don't have to even worry about that because they can say, you know what, Netflix or Paramount or whoever that streaming service is, they're creating that Kevin Smith-esque type show or movie on their own. We just need to focus on making the next Madam Web.
I don't understand what's happening.
But
they don't have to worry about the Kevin Smiths or the indie projects or that they can say, hey, you know what, you guys do that, and we'll just make the big blockbusters that will eventually sell to you guys later.
But that's I don't know. I guess that's part of the problem is that those guys are the head of Universal or whatnot, but then they're still creating content that they want to be that big box office smash, and then still want to also feed it. They want to have their cake and eat it too. And it's just like that. They don't care that's a impossibility, but they just like, no, we always have to do that. We always have to do the impossible because we always need 20% growth. They live in a
that's what I'm saying.
World.
But I wonder if to what Pat was saying earlier about us getting less movies is that they are betting bigger on what they consider more focused entertainment, which again, why we're getting remakes and why we're getting sequels and sequels and stuff.
They're not really betting.
Well, no, they are, because again, if Furiosa, they spend $450 million to get it made, and they know that the drop off, because the window of time between when it goes into the theaters and when it goes into streaming is short, they have to get at least 200, if not almost 300 that first weekend, because week 2 is going to drop off, week 3 is going to drop off, and then week 4 they're already packaging it up to be sent off to whatever streaming network at some point. So their bets are becoming bigger and I guess
more costly.
Yeah, definitely.
More costly bets when they don't hit. Yeah, so it's like that's and they shouldn't. They should be shooting for more mid-range movies. That they're neglecting the middle class.
Here is the dumbest thing in all of this. If Deadpool and Wolverine is a huge hit,
what if it's
every article? What's up? Exactly. Every article will be, movies are back, no problem. Just slow because of the
who needs Will Smith?
Everything else.
Take that.
Suck it, Will. We don't need you. We got Deadpool and Wolverine.
I didn't think y'all would see that.
That's what happened with Top Gun was a huge hit, and it saved movies. Tom Cruise saved movies. Did it. Mission accomplished. Fly the flag. We did it.
And then they let a woman lead a movie. She ruined it. Furiosa.
Yeah, I mean that thing is they'll only take the lessons they want to take from things.
Yeah,
is whatever reinforces their own opinions. That's going to be the case every time. Is that it's not that they should try and reevaluate what their plans are. That they should take a look at okay, so if maybe release 5 mid-level movies and 1 big anchor point movie for the studio. Maybe those 5 mid-levels, two or three of them can hit, and we'll have we're getting better odds. No, we just want to fucking roll the dice for magic every time.
Because that's how you like to your point. That's how you jump stock price. You have a big hit and everything shoots up. And the other thing is that kind of the thought process on how you make movies is no longer what it was even 10, 15 years ago, because so much of it is CGI space. Those big spectacular films, those big hits, unless it is Mad Max, those are done on a green screen but in front of a green screen in a studio on a lot somewhere. So much of it is just not, there's no basis in reality.
Well, to Ken's point of not learning the lesson, I think they also overlooked, as I was mentioning, the appetite for these movies. Because again, you had Mad Max Fury Road show up, almost 20 years after the last Mad Max movie?
If not more. When did I don't know. Yeah, but
and the same thing for Top Gun. It's like the appetite for those type of movies was growing. Like you had an audience who hadn't revisited those franchises, those properties, that world in 2+ decades. Now you're like, all right, let's shorten the length of time before you get the next one, and people are like, oh okay, I went to go see this in theater. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's funny too because like with George Miller, like he only releases films every I had a decade to go. That's not as much. I prefer more time in between my films. Like George Miller puts out, he's a pretty good mark of quality, and it's just a matter of like, the rushing him probably maybe I don't know. I wonder if that affected the performance either. To your point of like, you needed more space between those properties. Much like I'm curious about the return from Ghostbusters Afterlife to Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Like
Ghostbusters Afterlife made 129 million domestic and 74 international. It didn't do fantastic.
Right, but then what did wait, Afterlife and then what's it?
Frozen Empire.
So what's the difference?
That was Frozen Empire. Excuse me. That was Frozen Empire. Afterlife. No, that was Afterlife. I'm sorry. I'm getting my numbers confused. Frozen Empire was about the same.
Was it?
Apologize. I misspoke. It was about the same.
That's interesting. But then also it's about the same, but that's also there's a little bit of time for their inflation there. So it's like it didn't increase.
It sold less tickets.
Percentage. Yeah. So
it was 112 versus 129 domestic. So it definitely sold less tickets.
I think that they're both fun for their time. I think that Afterlife is more fun, but it is more fun because it's a return. As to this, it's like, oh wow, we've been away from the Boasters for so long. This one I thought I enjoyed, but I'm like also this just made me want a TV show more because I want to have it on a weekly basis. I want a TV show. I want the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah. You're also just a huge fan too.
I am, but I also enjoy smaller storytelling like that you get more characters. You get like to the point that the moron who played the Flash and really screwed the stuff up. You say Jor-El?
Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller. I don't know why I heard Jor-El.
Jor-El.
Ezra Miller was like, yeah, Jor-El. Ezra Miller was like, yeah, that dum-dum. He's like, yeah, you're really going to learn who the Flash is. Unlike the show, you're really going to get in the character. I'm like, the show has hours of Grant Gustafson telling you who this character is. You're there for 2-3 hours. He's got a year to do this.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, that's fair.
Suck it, CW.
You gotta move it faster.
My bad, Ezra. My bad.
There you go.
That's where I'm like, that's where like the other one of the other things that we could talk about, but it's getting late already, is that storytelling in TV shows with us having more serialized television gives us more of the characters. So it's like,
yeah,
I can watch an entire season of a show and learn who this character is and see them grow week to week, as opposed to here's 3 hours. I mean, 2.5, 3 hours, because movies are definitely getting longer now. Like of that, and that, yeah, it's a good time to be spent with them. But I'm like, it doesn't get to digest over time. I'm just like, here's the movie, and I'm like, okay, cool, that's fun, that's good. Whereas like it feels much better for me as a pardon me, so sorry, as a viewer, I enjoy that longer storytelling format.
Well, that was the other topic that we had in the list of things about the fall off of box office, is that we are now becoming accustomed to longer form entertainment, and I think it's just between our lifestyles and the way that it's accessible as far as like paying $14. $14 used to just buy us the one movie experience, so you had to get all of your knowledge of whatever that character was, whatever that world was, in that 2.5 hours. And so the writers that used to be able to do that are now moving to network television because they're able to do that over a longer period of time with a longer paycheck, more stability and security, so to speak. Again, I'm not saying that they get tons of money, but the idea of like, hey, I'm going to write on this one movie and maybe I can muster that success again.
Kareem, I disagree for your rationale. I apologize for jumping in, but I disagree with your rationale. I don't think that was a conscious choice by the writers. I think that choice was made by the studios. I don't think the writers said, oh, I'm going to go shop this and I'm going to get my instead of making a movie, I'm going to make a TV show made. I'm going to get a TV show made. I think they were directed to that because the movie studio stopped making those types of films. So it became, well, where can I get this story told? I'm going to go to television to do it. And now that infrastructure's in place.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I don't think, maybe I was poorly explaining it, but I think my idea was that the the transition was because there are less movies getting made, the opportunities are less for writers have now fallen from making films, having that opportunity to now going to studios or to the streaming, because that's where the opportunities are at, and the opportunities offer them longer career, so to speak, and a more secure paycheck than like saying, hey, I wrote a really good thing for Furiosa Mad Max, and then I can't find another job for the next 2 years, when I can go write the TV show of her for the next 10 months or whatever with the group, and then know that I'm in the Netflix bubble. So the next time they want another show, they'll be like, hey, that guy did great for Furiosa, let's bring him on to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, our new TV series, because he did that one. It's a lot easier than saying like, hey, he wrote a movie 10 years ago, let's bring him on and see if he can still muster that magic.
So my bad, I misunderstood. That's on me. But also, yeah, you're right. Once you're in that ecosystem, you're a name they know, so they'll call you up.
Mm-hmm. So again, this is streaming pulling from the potential of movies to be written well enough to be like, hey, I can explain this character in 2 hours. That person is now, who used to be able to do that, is now working for streaming, saying I can explain this character over 8 episodes that are each an hour long, and I get to work with other writers as well. And now we have the not so talented guys saying like, all right, I was the B team, and now they tell me to write this movie about this character. I'll give it my best, and now we're getting stuff like Venom.
Outstanding. Now let's bite all the heads off and pile them up in the corner.
So I think again, this is to the point of like streaming kind of cutting in. It's cutting in death by 1,000 cuts, but this is one of the bigger ones.
So
for the quality of movies,
is a sea change possible at this point? Can movies recover? Can Nicole Kidman's, the promise of Nicole Kidman, be fulfilled?
I think so, but I think the investments are no longer going to be with the studio. They're going to be with these streaming networks, who then are going to do what Amazon's doing, or sort of what Netflix is doing, where they invest in the movie theaters and try and put their projects on. Because I don't think studios are going to be able to keep up. I think if this keeps going the way that it's going.
Well, then you've got the MGMs buying Roadhouse or reboots and then just putting them straight to streaming. So,
but that's because Amazon bought MGM though.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, we're just gonna. I think I don't think Nicole Kidman is gonna be saved. I think her dream is done, and we are gonna see at least the slow shift of what theaters were. Like, again, I'm from a conversation I saw earlier. Kevin Smith did an interview with Michael Rosenbaum, and he's just speaking how it's like now, instead of going to big, like, we grew up in the age of the multiplex where we'd see 12 theaters, all that housed 100 people, but now we're seeing theaters that are like, oh, this is a 20-person theater, they're nice reclining chairs, and they maybe sell out, because you're not selling out the big 200 seaters anymore. Like, that's not happening, period. You might sell out the 20-seater and then also get them for food and drinks and things like that. So the theater experience is to a certain degree going to dying off and changing.
I don't know if that was necessarily the streaming network that really cut into that, or if it was more.
No. But I'm saying, like, right. But I'm saying the experience itself is changing. So no, I don't think. I think Nicole Kidman's dream of the theater, and I mean, we're putting this on Nicole, but I mean, who knows what she thinks?
I mean, we should be putting it on her.
When she agrees to come on the podcast, we can let her say her piece.
I won't. I don't agree to that at all. I'm going to talk all over. Get out of here, Yossi.
Defend yourself.
Debate me, Nicole. Debate me. Okay, do it for charity.
I'm sure this is making her want to jump on the pod.
Exactly. I'm very sorry. I enjoyed you in quite a few films, but I don't see theaters regaining that foothold. The thing they had, because it's just that experience is no longer one. The people who want that experience are aging out of the viability of leaving the house, and they are becoming far more homebound. And
that's being said, but I feel like there are some that knock it out of the park. Like Barbie and Oppenheimer did bring in people to the theater. I think Dune has brought people in. There are movies that can like get people off the couch and into the theaters in a significant way. Now, again, far in between.
But to your point, though, they're still not doing pre-COVID numbers. So that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, Avatar still made billions after COVID.
You can
In
say
the theater.
makes money in the theater, but like not the same money they made then. And
No,
so that's what I'm saying.
Avatar.
Like,
Yeah, Avatar
I don't
did
know with
pretty-
inflation.
did it?
All right, go ahead.
No. If Avatar made pre-COVID
It
money,
made like 860 million domestically and 2.3
Yeah.
billion internationally. I do not know a single human being that has seen it.
it's on streaming. I still haven't seen it, but I'm also not.
I started to watch it. And my girls were like, "We're good. We're tired. We're bored of these blue people." And I was like, "It's been 7 minutes."
To my
you know
point,
what?
that's the
Smart
next
girls.
generation.
They were right
That's-
though. They were right. It was boring.
Yeah,
7 minutes. I was like, "This shit is boring as hell."
yeah.
I don't need to
So-
see Jake silly.
Jake, my Jake.
I just think that our experience with the theaters is becoming a memory, and I think that it's unfortunate because I do still think there's joy to be had there and an experience to be had, but I think it's changing enough that we're not going to see the same numbers that we used to, and I think that but it's also for that, no matter what, it's always a matter of executives won't listen to us or anyone or even facts. They only listen to money and what they tell each other. So who knows? Because if there's a problem, it's not their fault. If there's a success, it's all because of them. So
To Pat's point, though, to Pat's original question, will we have a new norm at least? Because, like I said, facts, money wise, it's the amount of money that's going back into theaters is slowly creeping up. But not again. I don't think we'll ever get to pre-pandemic. I think what ended up happening was the same thing that happened when people bought PCs. Like we're seeing the PC market had a significant decline the last 2.5 years. It's starting to level out now, which is the new norm. It's like, before the pandemics, PCs were kind of not doing as well. People all had to start working from home. So everyone rushed out and bought monitors, they bought laptops, and they did it for, a solid 2 years, and PCs skyrocketed. Now that we all have our new PCs, we all have our, work from home setups, it's on the drop off, but it's got to level out at some point where we're just going to have a steady, like, all right, now those people are cycling out of their new PCs and just going to start buying laptops at the new normal level. I think theaters are going to have that sort of thing where everyone went out and bought giant TVs. They made their home entertainment theaters because they thought COVID was going to be forever. They bought, sound bars and speakers and all that kind of stuff. But at some point, we all started slowly creeping out. The experience of going to theaters won't be as, you hear somebody coughing in the back. You're like, oh shit, I'm going to die. Now it's like, all right, well, I can go see a movie and it'd be okay. And because of inflation, I may not go see 3 in a month, but I can at least go see one once a month or something like that. Do you think there will at least be a new low level new
or does
norm?
it go the way of Zoom, where the bottom falls out?
Yeah, I would say, well, by definition, there will be a new norm. Like there
No
will
norm,
be a new
not
status
but,
quo.
But Pat's saying a fallout. Like this is just a decline that
Right.
will not have a bottom. I'm saying will there be a new bottom where it's like, all right, we've gotten here. People will at least the threshold for
level up?
Well, yeah. I think even with Pat saying though is like, even if we find a new rock bottom, that just becomes a new norm by saying like, will there be a new norm? You're like, yeah, there will be. It'll just be way below than what they want, and executives will always want more. But I mean, it's if the question is, will there be a new norm? Yes, we will achieve a new status quo by simply existing. But
Are
what
movie
will that
theaters
look like?
part of the new norm? Do they exist still, or are they like a niche thing?
Yeah, I think I think that they kind of level off for a bit, and then eventually they just become. I mean, yeah, I don't see them going away completely because it's. I guess my problem is with the presentation of the question. Will there be a new norm? Yes, but will they disappear? No. Will they become a bespoke thing of like, oh hey, it's like arcades? Like, do they get to that point? Oh, we did lose Kareem. He was paused for a second. I wasn't quite sure.
Oh,
like,
okay,
yeah,
continue.
He looked frozen, but like, does it become like an arcade? Like, oh well, we can go to the arcade. Like, oh, like a Dave and Buster's where it's kind of a unique thing. Like, okay, it's a very specific type of thing you're going for.
But here's the thing: they're still opening Dave and Buster's.
Yeah, but they're not.
They even have a new gambling app now.
Do they really?
Yeah,
But
it's
that's
stupid.
but that's not but that's an app on your phone. That's not a location you go to. So
But I think you have to go to the location in order to experience the
do
betting.
you?
It's
Okay,
basically like, yeah,
who goes to Dave and Buster's? I'm not trying to pick up 18-year-olds anymore. What's going on?
Look at
I
this
don't
guy.
I just
fucking
want to go
growing
play
up. Who the hell are
I want to
you?
play skee ball, man.
No, I
I'm
got a
saying
problem with the son of a bitch. He's calling me out.
Fair enough. If you feel attacked, then maybe that says more about you than it does about me.
We just lost
Anyways,
half our audience. Way to go. Way to go, kid.
I'm so
Our
sorry.
audience loves going to Dave and Buster's picking up 18-year-olds. You know that? That's our number
My
one
bad.
demo.
I'm against Furiosa. I'm all about the dudes. I don't
Too
know.
late. They've already left.
Fair enough. All right. Then I'm
They're
back
back
to
on
being
Andrew
Will.
Tate's podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I don't know. Dave and Buster's to me seems like it's not the norm. Like you can go to it. It's there.
I guess my real question is, what does the bottom actually look like? Are we talking where 20 movies are released a year in theaters and that's it? And it's like an event because those are the only ones released in theaters? Are we talking where it becomes only art house films and small studios make them and they're supported by kind of a network of small art house theaters? Are we talking just a diminished version of what we're seeing now? Where do we think this ends up?
I'll go first because Ken seems to be the pessimist. I'll see if I can draw a medium happy ground, a new normal. I think to your point, Pat, I think we get art house films. I think indie developers they'll start to open up the Kevin Smiths of the thing where we see 20 people to see these specific movies, whether or not they were released in theater originally or if they were just something that we've decided to take from streaming and put into these small theaters because we know we could draw the audiences there. Maybe even test some stuff, but we don't get I don't think we're going to really capture that Barbenheimer feel anymore or get even close to it going forward. I think those are going to start shutting down. They're just too expensive to run.
That did not feel like the optimistic side. Gotta be honest.
Well, I think what Ken's going to say, we're not going to get any of that. We're going to get a notification on your phone or your tablet saying, hey, new movie coming out, dumb, watch it. And that's about it.
So what I'm saying is that we're just going back to cable? Is that what we're going?
Oh, look at this guy.
Bam!
Bringing it back.
I mean, my thing is like we'll find a new equilibrium, and I think that to Kareem's point, because they're not gonna like Hollywood is gonna be like, no, we need another Barbenheimer every month. We need a Barbenheimer.
But when did they run out of money chasing that though? Chasing that.
They have all of the money. There's nothing to like. They don't run out because they are the ones with the money. They are the ones who make the rules.
But they will run out when the projects don't do well.
They do because the valuation. Remember, it's all a confidence game. A lot of these are publicly traded companies, and string enough failures together, the valuation of the company goes down enough, and suddenly you're ripe for all the bad things that happen to a company when that happens.
You get either private investors or you get what's happening to your point of cable, where it's like, all right, well, Warner Brothers said, they're in their 208th flop. Guess what? They get bought by Netflix now. Lionsgate gets bought by Amazon. Like they're just going to get bought by these companies. And now we've gone from, 11 studios to 4 streaming networks that all have all of those things. And that's where I say, like, we're going to get those companies then, basically help sort of financing or at least making money off of getting these movies out to these small indie theaters as just test pilots. Like, hey, you know what? We have what was what's her name? Sydney Sweeney's movie? Is that her name? Sydney
Sweeney's the actress, yeah.
Yeah, her romantic comedy will be released, after the first week that they're on Netflix. Like, it did well. That gets released in theaters.
So
to get even more audiences.
I mean, to that point too, we even had Kenobi. An episode of Kenobi was in theaters because they were like, "Oh, hey, this release date's kind of like hot for us. Let's go ahead and put it in theaters." And the like Fathom events and those kind of like niche art house things where they make it a special thing. Those can kind of. I mean, we have other things that are like Disney is doing a movie at the end of like a bunch of their Star Wars things to kind of culminate in a movie is something they've talked about. If that movie is in theaters as well as in streaming for that first week, that's just free money to them. To the product's already created. You're already paying for Disney Plus. They can throw it in theaters for just some extra cash, so to speak.
But that doesn't keep the theater in business.
No, what keeps the theater in business is the streaming network, because the streaming network now sees that as an opportunity to catch anybody who doesn't already have Netflix.
Which
if you're going to theaters, go ahead.
They are buying the theater, to your point, Kareem. At that point, the infrastructure is they have now purchased these theater chains.
If they don't, I agree. I mean, if they don't buy it full outright, they're at least leasing the property itself for enough money to like say, hey, you know what? Here's your cut of it. But we at least need you to stay open enough, because again, there are people who are walking in here who don't have Netflix. It's beneficial to us to keep you guys around, so that those people will walk out and say, you know what, Sydney Sweeney is a great actress. What else does she do? Oh, it's all on Netflix. All of her stuff's on Netflix. Let me go sign up for Netflix or Pornhub, wherever I can see her.
We're just.
It's better that you're frozen too, by the way. But
yeah, you're completely frozen. So just this disembodied voice. I'm all right. I'm going to take another tact. I think it bounces back. I think we're communal animals. I think we're just in a lull right now. I don't think it's going to get to those massive numbers like 2019. I don't think we get there, but I think we bounce back to more, Kareem, kind of what you said, post-pandemic, pre this lull. I do think this lull has a lot to do with the choices that have been made with movies, the current political climate, and just the strike did hurt because it pushed a lot of things back that would have been considered tentpole films. I think a movie like Furiosa is a great story for the movie industry if it's not being depended on to be the Memorial Day release. If it's partnered with something else stronger than
they gave her Garfield. What else do you want, Pat?
A crappy Garfield that nobody.
We can't give you any bigger of a clutch.
Like our 7th Garfield in 10 years, whatever.
They gave you Samuel L. Jackson. What more do you want? I mean, you forgot he was in the movie, didn't you? Because really, why would he be in that movie? But it's called a paycheck, folks. It's called a paycheck.
I mean, when I think Chris Pratt, I think Samuel L. Jackson immediately.
Hand in hand, just skipping down the road.
Who does John's voice?
I don't know. Chris Pratt, probably. Who knows?
He's doing them all.
Would you put it past him?
No, I would not. Hey, it's me, John.
I'm gonna guess it's Zachary Levi.
Zachary Levi? Ooh, that's a good guess.
Oof. Big oof. Nicholas Hoult. Nicholas Hoult is the voice of John Arbuckle.
What the? None of this makes any sense.
Snoop Dogg is a Maine Coon. Wait, Brent?
Wait,
Brent Goldstein
isn't Nicholas Hoult British?
They have Roy Kent in this movie. Good. Wait, how did I miss? That's
who produced this movie?
I don't know. Sony.
I'm trying to figure out who was able to get all these voices under contract, or at least has enough compromise on them to be like, you're gonna make this movie.
I mean, you got to think about it at least from it's a voice acting gig as opposed to having to spend a lot of time on set in conditions. You just go into.
I mean, voice acting is still pretty tough.
I mean, but it's also not voice acting in a group setting where you're all together and playing off each other.
It is Sony.
It's so.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying there had to be a company just like the Madam Web thing where it's like, I'm doing this to have access to something else.
Yeah,
it's another project
Columbia
I want to do.
Sony, distributed by Sony Pictures Productions is Columbia, which I think is a subsidiary of Sony at this point, isn't it?
Well, no, that's what they do in Madam Web. They didn't put the name at all in that. They were like, Columbia Pictures did this bullshit.
Right, that's what I'm saying though. Is like it's like they just like it's a parent company that released it, but yeah, it's Sony. Sony's the one who.
But I mean, these are actors these are legitimate actors, and I'm like, why would any of them sign up for Garfield though?
Because it's a paycheck, and it's also. Like there was, I forget what it's from, but there's saying like, you make your next film before the last one releases so that you always have the momentum. You can keep that going. So yeah, a lot of them it's, and also a lot of it is too, is like, so it's like I was saying, they have the character who plays Roy Kent, the actor who plays Roy Kent. They also have Hannah Waddington, So it's like, are they on some type of just like Sony picture deal where they can get X amount of like, well, we signed you for 5 movies, so,
think so,
2 of
yeah.
those movies are at this level, and 3 of those are cameo appearances, and you're just contractually already in bed with us.
So this is like the old studio system coming back to rear its ugly head. Oh, yeah, Oz.
Yeah, I mean, for them, it's a paycheck for it's a paycheck for 5 movies, whether they're good or not. At least they're.
But
for
I wonder
5
if they're going to
movies.
revisit that after Dakota Johnson shot all over that kind of idea.
Dakota Johnson's just a freaking nepo baby that still is continuing to make.
I know,
movies
but the idea was
despite
that
no
she'd have at least
quality.
enough decorum to be like, you know what, I appreciate the opportunity. Let's move on to my next movie. You know, she was at in press interviews going, "This is garbage. I don't know why the hell I was there."
Yeah.
Maybe that was the end of her contract, and
But I wonder if Sony's like, maybe we don't sign people for 5 movies anymore. Maybe we do the 3.
Maybe that
Because
they
all
don't care
turn out to be
because
DJs.
her parents are still going to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like, let's give me another movie, Dad. I want another movie.
Fair enough. I'm just saying I think they're gonna have to reconsider now that she doesn't abide by the same rules. Like, what if we get another one that doesn't? And we're locked in for 5 movies.
Well, then what they'll do is they'll put language in the contract that says your contract is null and void if you badmouth us. And
yeah, but what constitutes bad mouthing? If they say, "Oh, how'd you like the movie?"
She also
it will be. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty sure there's probably some kind of NDA because she was towing the line all before release, and then once release happened, then she was like, the floodgates opened, and she was more direct about it. And so it's like maybe under contract she had to speak positively about the movie until release, and then
or just not say anything negative. There's a difference. The absence of positivity can still be implied here.
Yeah, and exactly. And she's just like, "Oh, now I can say whatever I want. Cool. Mommy and Daddy are going to buy me another movie anyways, so let's go forward."
Hey, I don't begrudge you that. I don't have to watch.
I mean, I'm a fan. I understand nepotism, but I'm also like, at some point, like, you've already got bags of money. Just go sit down in the corner.
Fair enough. I don't begrudge you that argument either.
But then we wouldn't
watching
have 50 Shades of Grey.
There you go.
What a loss.
I mean, we would have it because it was a fanfic, but it just wouldn't have her in it.
But not the way we have it.
Well, we still have the movie Materialists about a matchmaker's lucrative business gets complicated when she falls into a toxic love triangle after the client threatens her clients.
So, like, dramatic hitch.
Pedro Pascal is going to be in this, and Chris Evans. What is going on? Oh my God!
There's only 10 people they cast in films now.
Sony contracts,
but they have to be better. This is going to.
I'll call it in my favor.
Apparently,
Sony's like, can I phone a friend?
Yeah.
No, wait. Is that the next thing? Because isn't she in a TV show where she plays a lesbian?
I don't know. Maybe that's a Materialist.
Is that the next thing that's up?
I think
it's called something else. It's like, am I okay or something like that?
This is IMDb too, so who knows how on the spot this is.
Hold on. What was the guy's name that wrote in stuff we didn't like?
It's probably him. Well, I mean, again, this is the same website that told us that in Amazing Spider-Man 2, we were going to have Aunt May become Carnage. So again, it's a website we can't trust. It's the same website that gave us.
Or it's a website we want to trust in.
Yeah,
I'd love to watch that.
I'd rather have seen that film.
I mean, it's the same one that said that was it Clint Eastwood's son was going to be Dick Grayson Nightwing in the first Suicide Squad movie, who ended up being absolutely nobody in the movie. So again, take everything with a grain of salt, folks. Who knows? Kareem's frozen again, but I still love him.
At least he's happy.
He's happy.
At least he's happy. I assume he's going to go away and come back in a second.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no bow to put on this now. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Dakota Johnson ruined it.
Can't put lipstick on a pig, huh? Is that what you're still trying to do?
I mean, you can.
You hold that pig down.
I was say, why do you say that with such authority and experience? Like, well, you can. You need to. If you really want it, you can put that lipstick on a pig.
Yeah, I mean, if you I don't know. Do you believe in yourself?
Are you a quitter?
Quitters never win, and winners put lipstick on pigs.
I think we got Babe, Pig in the City.
Yeah. Gonna go into the city. Better be gussied up.
Well, that's our discussion.
So
about
movies are
shitty-
doomed. Good night, everybody.
No, movies aren't. Movie theaters. The box office experience is doomed. But
Nicole
to that point,
Kidman is doomed.
I do want to say that I watched Godzilla -1, and I think the international markets might have the idea going. Make better movies.
What?
Yeah. That's antithetical to the complete American dream. So no.
Well, it's just interesting that Marvel got its like rise as it made movies for international markets. It started making its movies geared towards that. And then the international market said, all right, we had enough of your crap. We're gonna make our own. And they're still doing well.
I mean,
but the US markets are like, all right, well, that's not
Japan's
good.
always been making their movies for themselves too. Like other markets didn't necessarily, I don't know, they've been making stuff for themselves, especially when you look at the tokusatsu market. That's a much deeper beast to try and traverse too. So
Right. I'm just saying there was an audience for certain movies from the US internationally speaking. I think that they've gotten their fill. And now the US is stuck with whatever. We're not even.
I think froze again.
yeah, I think we might. He'll catch back up in a second.
Wait for it.
Oh,
wait,
am I? Oh no, my thing's. I mean, if we need to, we can also listen to what Shane Falco said. He said, "Pain heals, chick dig scars, and glory lasts forever."
I mean, do you want me to go into Any Given Sunday speech too while we stall? The inches we need are everywhere around us. I'm just going to stop there, saving that for the next one.
I like it.
I do think Kareem has a valid point, though, that we've seen with these international movies that have done well. Oh, if you make a better movie, people will go see it. Why was Barbenheimer so successful? Well, they did great marketing. They made an event, but it was successful beyond the first weekend because they made good films. People wanted to see them. They had good word of mouth.
But if you can make a Transformers film that doesn't mean anything outside of, and you can market it to Beijing because they're going to have a connected Transformer figure there, maybe that's how you make films and make money. No? Well, then shit,
I mean,
don't know.
It was in 2010.
Yeah, I guess the takeaway is that Hollywood needs to start to learn lessons quicker and not just be stuck in their old mindsets, but I also don't think that that's ever going to change because you're still going to have the same people in charge and they just want to, and by same people, I mean the same type of people, just
and the same mindset. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all it takes to change is one one company to do something and have a hit, and it will change immediately because everyone, that entire industry is a copycat industry. So, hey, this did well. We'll do that then. We'll just spam that button. It's why everybody has to have an expanded universe, an interconnected universe for their films. Why everything needs a prequel, because
I mean,
it worked
yes
once.
and no. I mean, because it's like if you say that and you look at the yes, we have an expanded universe, a gluttony of them thanks to Iron Man, but DC didn't. DC, which is something who has a template for the same type of scenario, like okay, then we're going to do the same thing and we're going to go ahead and cut and paste and we're going to start our interconnected universe and we'll start with a 10-year plan. No, we're going to cut corners because that's what we care about. We don't care about long term.
I didn't say they did it right. I just said they did it. They did say we're going to make an expanded universe.
But the thread that I was pulling on there is like, oh, it only takes one company to one thing to get it right, and then they'll cut and paste it. But they won't cut and paste it right. They'll do the cut and paste of multiplicity of like, oh, it's a copy of a copy of a copy, and eventually you just get, I'm Steve and I like pie, and that's.
But
which, by the way, Multiplicity is still a fun movie. Check out if you want. Why not?
Maybe has a more important message than we would have thought when the movie came out.
Yeah.
I get it, but also that copy of a copy of a copy bought the industry like 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, well, did it though? Because all of the DC movies, to a certain degree, have had not great quality, but they still brought in money too. So it's they don't learn lessons properly. Like they don't say like, oh, we should have not made the Justice League film, but we can still make the same movie again with cut out footage and then film new footage, and here it is on streaming, the Jack Snyder cut. Jack Snyder being the cousin of Zack Snyder.
Yeah, well, you have to have a new cut now every 6 months. So
yeah, that's the plan. So I don't know. I'm clearly underfed or something, because words are not that words were ever a good thing for me to work with, but here we are.
We're going to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Movie theaters are doomed. The movie industry is doomed. Streaming is doomed. The only entertainment we will have is going to be Facebook and going on Facebook Marketplace and buying stuff. And that's all we have. Good night, everybody.
And podcast. So like and subscribe.
Use your ear holes.
Find us on Patreon. Huh? I don't know. Please. One day.
We'll get our shit together.
Yeah.
Just like the movie industry.
We'll just get a Patreon. We won't get our shit together.
Podcasts are doomed.
That's why we're doing YouTube videos.
There we go. That's where it's at. That's a ticket.
That there is a great notion. Speaking of great notions.
Let's get that sponsor in last minute.
Thank you all for listening. Good night, everyone. Go to the movie theater. Save them. Save them.
You've been freed. Do you know how hard it is to lead? You're on your own. Awesome. Wow. Do you have a clue what happens now?